Now let's look at another example. Again, the only way to get good at these is to see lots of examples being done and think about how you would do them so that you begin to recognize those patterns. For example, one pattern when I see this particular picture is I always know in this particular picture that I will have vertical angles right here. So I begin to look for those and know that those are given in my picture anytime I see this particular picture set up. Another tip that you may find helpful is I often take a yellow highlighter, something light, and I highlight or I dash what I'm looking for in my picture. So in this situation, I'm looking to get those two segments equal. Now, if I want segments equal, and I see this picture is built from two triangles, my mind immediately begins to think, well, if I prove my triangles congruent, then I can say those segments are congruent by CPCTC, those corresponding parts of the triangles I just proved congruent. So I kind of formulate a plan before I even put my pen to paper. So now that I know where I want to go, and I kind of have a plan that I'm looking to make triangles congruent, I'm going to make my T-chart, and I'm going to write that given down. AP is parallel to LN, and PR equals NR. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to mark my picture. Do not underestimate how important it is to mark your picture. You have to see your pieces on the picture to know if you have side angle side or angle side angle. Angle angle side versus angle side angle. You have to see the markings to know what you're doing. So now I'm back to what do I do next? And this is usually the part that kids think is the hardest. How do I move from the given to my first step? So you ask yourself, what does my given give me? This was just a straight piece of information that I used. This piece of given, if you know lines are parallel, you get certain angle relationships. That's the other thing that can be present in this picture. So if I come in and I mark my transversal, and then I come in with a different color and I mark my parallel lines, it becomes clear that I have alternate interior angles. And I could also use the other transversal and use these alternate interior. So there are 1, 2, 3 different ways, 4 different ways to prove these triangles congruent. They are all correct. So let's go with the angles that I marked. I'm going to say that angle APR, that's this one, is equal to angle LNR, this one. And the reason I know that is I know parallel. Parallel implies alternate interior angles are equal. So now I have one side here and here and one angle. So when I'm thinking about my congruency statements, I could look for another angle or another side. I've already mentioned that I could prove these two also by alternate interior or my vertical angles. Both are correct. You can use either one. It does change your congruency statement theorem, but either one is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and use my vertical angles because I always look for those in pictures. And so I'm going to say that angle PRA is equal to angle NRL, PRA to NRL, this one and this one. And the reason that is true is vertical angles. And even though my picture is getting kind of messy, you can see that I have an angle, I have a side, and I have an angle. And so I know my triangles are congruent. Triangle PAR will be congruent too. Now order matters. P corresponds to N, so I have to list N. A corresponds with L, and R matches up with itself. And that is by angle, side, angle. Now once I know the triangles are congruent, and remember where I want to end up, then I know that these two sides are congruent, that PA is equal to NL by corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. That's one of I bought 3 pieces in this step, 2 angles and a side, so I get an additional 2 sides and angle, and this is the one that I happen to need. So that's how that proof would work.